Hey everybody, Ty here. Hope everyone is doing well. Been a long day on this end, so wanted to have this video out sooner, but it is what it is. But unfortunately, because of that, of course, we're not live right now. Still have ongoing severe weather in the Delmarva and parts of the Northeast here. That's expected to continue throughout the early evening hours, but outside of damaging winds, not a whole lot has happened so far. We haven't had any significant wind reports, which is the good news so far. I anticipate that to be the trend as we go further on throughout the evening. There is another slight risk that has popped up over here towards North Dakota and parts of Minnesota tonight. The main threat with that also is damaging winds, and there's also going to be an additional enhanced risk tomorrow. And in the meanwhile, while all of the severe weather has been going on, something has kind of slipped right under our noses. It's an area that we don't cover quite as much, and it's over towards the eastern Pacific. This is over towards western Mexico. We had a Category 4 hurricane make landfall, or maybe it was Category 3, I'm not entirely sure. Wasn't able to catch the details because everything happened at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Eric over here rapidly strengthened and made landfall as a powerful major hurricane. I think this is the first significant landfall over here towards North America this year. So crazy weather going on today as a whole here. We're not going to see too much more of Eric here, as you can see. It is weakened significantly after making landfall and has continued to expect to push further and further inland. Will this become a problem for the U.S. in regards to the tropics? No. So nothing to really worry about there, but some interesting news for you all there. If you look on X or any other forms of social media, you'll see a little bit of the damage that's occurred over there, I'm sure. So pretty crazy day here. So we get to the additional severe weather days ahead of us. We do have that enhanced risk on Friday, and then Saturday, as it stands right now, we have a marginal risk. But with tomorrow's risk, we do have a 5% tornado. There's a chance that we could stream this. I might have one more busy day tomorrow, but we'll see about that. We'll see how that ends up going. If I can get back in time, I'll definitely try to. Time frame of this will be later into the afternoon, and I might have a window where I could stream for a brief period, and then later in the night I might be gone again. I don't even know. It's just been hectic last month or so. But we have a 5% tornado threat, and the main threats are both wind and hail. The wind threat is slightly larger, so I'll go as far as to say that that's the main threat here. This threat, I also think, will extend into parts of Canada, maybe over towards Manitoba, Providence even, before all is said and done. It is that time of year where they start to get severe weather as well, so every once in a while we might even make a video for Canada as well. But these are our main threats for tomorrow. Wind and hail is the main one. Tornado threat is palpable. It's a 5% area, so anywhere from eastern parts of Montana all the way over into central parts of Minnesota is going to be under increased watch for tornadoes, and anywhere all the way over towards the UP of Michigan we're going to have to watch too. So go towards day 3, we'll watch this continue to hang around towards this region, and then also kind of push off towards the northeast here in the Great Lakes as well as we go forward. Right now, as I said before, marginal risk, not much to really write home about with this threat, but during this time of year, we're looking more so at the mesoscale, so the upper level patterns that we would usually see during the springtime, not really going to see anything quite as prominent as what we saw during those times. So it's pretty sneaky, kind of have to make more updates. We'll try and do a little bit better with that, especially as our schedule starts to finally stabilize a little bit, which is coming very soon. We'll be able to deliver a little bit better content here. Definitely more consistent content, to say the least here. So we're going to kind of keep it with the GFS today. It's kind of hard to really do model comparisons with the mesoscale stuff because usually we're looking lower into the atmosphere. I kind of lean a little bit more towards using convective models, but since we're going to try to look into the long range here, I'm just going to stick with one model today. If we go ahead and keep the GFS moving forward here, our weather pattern that has been also persistent across the eastern states here, where we've had those afternoon showers and thunderstorms, especially towards the deep south, that is of course going to continue into the weekend, all the way up to the tail end of it, where we finally get this ridge to come over. And once that happens, we start to stabilize, we begin to warm up a little bit, but there still will be isolated chances here and there. And at this point, from the 23rd on, when we've made mention this in a few videos in recent time, I'm really starting to like the Manitoba region over in Canada in regards to severe weather potential along with the central and northern plains. This is pretty typical for this time of year, so nothing too far out of the ordinary as we're going forward here. And as we get into that next week, that's when we start to see maybe a little bit of a decrease in action here. The troughs aren't quite as stout as this last one that we've been looking at here. We do start to get one maybe towards the end of the 10-day period here, but we'll have to see how things pan out with that. Again, same areas that we would be watching over towards the northern plains, maybe the UP here, and maybe the Manitoba province as well. And that's just pretty much going to be the predominant trend from this point here. We'll disregard anything that's going on in the Atlantic right now from this model here, because the operational run has a bias here that tends to create tropical storms from time to time. It's not always inaccurate, but more often than not, if we see a run that's about 250 hours plus out where we see a big hurricane develop, I would almost go as far as to say it's bogus as of right now, but I'm not going to write anything off, but I wouldn't be alarmed by it either. I'll say that much. So this is where the rubber hits the road here right now. This is probably the best model to use during this time of year, because I mean 500 is the 500 millibar that I was just looking at, looks at the upper levels of the atmosphere. It's pretty good for looking at troughs, but during this time of year, it's really the mid levels where the most action tends to be. So as you can see here, we have a pretty stout looking trough here as well, but the most interesting details aren't really in the troughs, in these contour lines. Again, as I've said before, you always want to take a look at these contour lines and these little ripples within these areas as well, these points of amplitude. Wherever we see these ripples, those are our short waves. Those short waves are where we have the better chance for showers and thunderstorms to develop. The stronger the short wave, the greater the opportunity for stronger storms and sometimes even severe weather, depending on other parameters. So of course, towards our areas of interest, over towards the northern plains, over towards the Great Lakes, we're going to see a lot of activity over here. But we're not going to be only just paying attention over there. We also keep an eye on the deep south. There are a couple areas of interest. I think our rain chances are going to kind of shift a little bit further towards the south. My area's been getting hit a lot with those summertime showers and storms. As we get towards the end of the weekend, we're going to see a little bit of a shift south, so we might get a little bit of a break. We'll see how that pans out throughout the course of the day on Sunday. And then before all is said and done, it'll probably become a little bit drier over here as well, especially over towards the northeast, especially with that ridge coming into place here. Now as we go further along, we begin to see that shifting occur once again, and then we start to see a pattern re-emerge over towards these states for showers and storms. Towards these other regions, we're a little bit drier, unless you're over towards the mountains. The mountains, you always have one of those, as one of my old coworkers used to call it, mystery meats. I don't know why he likes saying that. Shout out to you, Seth. But we have opportunities here for some showers and storms to develop over here as well. Summertime variety for the most part, but with those mountains, it's always a little bit of a wild card. As we continue to roll forward from that point, again, going to be paying a lot more attention towards our northern states, over towards the Manitoba province, and then maybe even over towards Toronto as well before all is said and done. So again, nothing that I can necessarily say that we have anything serious to write home about, but pretty much our pattern continues from this point. We are far from finished with severe weather right now. As far as our high-end threats here in regards to any bow echoes, derechos, tornado threats, right now I see some potential maybe on Sunday, but in regards to our low-level jet, but it's nothing to sound the alarm for right now as it stands. The ingredients as a whole, especially in the shear parameters, don't really come together just yet. I am interested in the flow of this low-level jet here too, though. So I'm still keeping an eye on it. I do think that there could be a sneaky little system that could pop up within the next 3 days with this low-level jet. It seems to be lingering for the right amount of time to where something could occur there, but we'll have to see. It will be on the upslope of this ridge here, though, which will make things a little bit more interesting. Could complicate things. We'll still have plenty of Gulf moisture flow involved with this as well, and we'll show you that model in a second. So, like I said, even with this ridge coming into play, I don't think our severe chances are going to really dwindle all that much. We're still going to have plenty of opportunities, I would say, going forward here. Now, and like I said, again, in regards to our tornado potential, I think that we're still going to be on the lower end of the spectrum, at least over towards the lower 48. Towards Canada, it's a little bit different. I think that especially as we get towards the end of the month, we'll have more opportunities coming into play there. But as we know, nothing's really a shoe until it happens. So, like I said, Manitoba seems to be a point of interest. Towards Toronto could be also interesting as well as we get into the end of the month and into July here. And we're even getting a little bit of a sneak preview of what the 4th of July could be like. There is a storm system we might have to watch as well, but of course, with us being this far out, nothing is a shoe-in at this point, obviously, as I mentioned before. So, a lot to keep track of here, but if anything, I'm keeping a close eye on those north central plains and parts of the Midwest. Like I said, nothing too uncharacteristic for this time of year, but plenty to keep an eye on going forward here. So if we would go ahead and take a look at our moisture flow here, it's really not much of a surprise. Even as we go further along here, once we get past the 120-hour mark or 5 days out from now, we still continue to see that low-level moisture coming in. And when that ridge comes in, it's not like it shuts off the pathway for that moisture to continue to head back north here. So as we continue to move forward, regardless of whether you have showers or storms or not, it's going to be very muggy if you're east of the Rockies, especially once you get past the plains here and into the Ozarks and beyond. So, got to keep yourselves hydrated. I know a lot of you may be doing outdoor activities. If so, just make sure you have some water and some electrolytes too, just in case you sweat a little too much. Definitely a lesson that I've had to remind myself of a few times working outside. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and go to the next parameter here. Of course, looking at our cape here, we're looking at the instability that we have available in the atmosphere. And in the days ahead here, what I'm really interested in, of course, is this region right over here towards the Dakota border here, both the North and South Dakota border. If we take a look at the parameters here, like I said, low-level jet or low-level shear parameters are not the greatest that I've seen. They're sufficient enough to support tornadoes, but they really do much better with damaging wind soundings, mainly due to the surface temperature and the dew point spread. 11 degrees of difference there usually leads to more elevated cloud bases, but with the lapse rates being as good, usually you end up having better downdraft capabilities here. And a great metric for that, and this metric is off the charts, by the way, is D-Cape. To put it in perspective for you, the threshold that you would typically look for severe thunderstorms to have damaging wind capabilities is about maybe 600 to 800. We're at 2,000. What's considered high typically is closer towards 1,000 to 1,200. 1,200 is actually considered pretty daggone high, so when you're at 2,000, that's saying a lot. Hence why we have that hatched risk with the enhanced risk right now. I do think with these kinds of parameters, especially as these translate into the convective models as we get later into the evening, there's a small chance we could get a moderate risk out of this. Not gonna say that that's exactly what will happen, but I would not be surprised if these were to uptrend, that we wouldn't get an upgrade here. So if you're over here again, if you're over here towards central parts of Minnesota, over towards the Dakota, the northern and southern parts of the Dakota border here, you definitely need to be paying extra close attention to this setup here, especially as we get later into the evening. We'll see this eventually clear out, and then we'll start to see that cape begin to kind of ramp up over towards the UP of Michigan and over towards these areas as well, especially as we head throughout the rest of the weekend. So I do think that there's a chance that Saturday could get an upgrade here, depending on other parameters coming into play. It takes a lot more than just cape, but usually during this time of year, we have high cape, and the other parameters are not quite as impressive, so it's kind of a toss-up as to what we end up getting. Now, as you can see over here, even over towards the deep south, where we're going to see that ridge coming into play, we have enough cape to where we can end up overcoming that and still having storm potential here. Now, we just need a good forcing mechanism because we still have moisture over here, so those summertime storms are not necessarily going to be going away. It may get a little warmer, and those storms may be a little bit fewer and further in between, but if you do end up under one, it could be a pretty intense storm at times. As we go further along here, you kind of see that similar pattern that I'm talking about over towards these regions. This is where that ridge starts to come in right around towards this region, towards the deep south here. And this is where we start to see that cape kind of slack off just a little bit, but never truly go away, as I mentioned before. But you can pretty much see the congruency as to what we have this week and in the weeks ahead here. So again, looks like the times will remain pretty busy here. Like I said before, damaging ones seems like the main thing we're going to be concerned with. But as I've said before, with this time of year, everything's kind of a wild card, including that threat for tornadoes. Interesting to see that we still have some mountain snow over towards the northwestern Rockies here, just towards the higher elevations, because usually by the time we get towards June, we see this kind of go away completely. We're just dealing with all rain. But some shots of cold air definitely still seem like they're feasible at this point as we go forward here for this region. So interesting to see how that kind of turns out. Also, June outlook is going to be coming out soon, so make sure you're staying tuned for that. Again, here's a look at what the simulated radar could be as we go forward from this point. And then, pretty much just as we were talking about earlier, it's kind of a little bit of the proof of concept here in regards to the setup towards the plains going forward and over towards the deep south as well. You can kind of see the point where that ridge definitely kind of kicks in a bit. This is the point where things kind of open up just a little bit, but still have those summertime storms chances up pretty high for the most part. Definitely not one of those organized systems. Going to kind of be a little bit of a toss-up as to whether or not you end up under one over towards the deep south. So just plenty of time to take plenty of time to pay close attention to the sky here, because even the weatherman themselves can't guarantee anything with these kinds of setups here. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and make sure you get that notification bell on for future videos here. It's been Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you tomorrow.